If you've been trying to heal your anxiety and nothing is working, these 6 habits that I'm about to show you are likely the reason why. They're habits that you've either been told would help, or they're just things that you don't realize that you're doing, but they're fueling your patterns of fear, self-doubt, and overthinking. So for every moment that you're trying to heal your anxiety, you're also adding to it. It's a never-ending cycle. It's like trying to empty a bathtub while the faucet is still running. If water is coming in as fast as you're taking it out, then the tub will never be empty. Point being, no other anxiety tips and no amount of therapy will really be able to help all that much until you stop these 6 habits. For example, a lot of people rely on deep breathing exercises to cope with their stress and anxiety, but they don't realize that the way that they're breathing while doing these exercises is actually sending a subtle message to their subconscious that they're in danger, keeping them stressed. Breathing exercises are great, but they're not super effective if you haven't learned how to breathe properly. I'll talk about this more in habit number 5, so stick around, but let's start at the top, and let's go over the top 6 things that you need to stop doing if you want to fix your anxiety. The first habit is something that you're probably doing with your therapist and that they're telling you to do on your own, but I promise you, this is fueling your anxiety and keeping you stuck. Habit number 1 that we need to stop is analyzing your triggers. Think about it like this. If I explain to you why tickling you makes you laugh, will that knowledge make you any more resistant to being tickled? Of course not. Explaining away a visceral physiological response doesn't stop it from happening, and that's what you're trying to do when you're analyzing your anxiety or your triggers. You're rationalizing an irrational response, so it's never going to actually solve the problem. And it's actually making the problem worse, because all of your analysis keeps your mind looking for threats, which keeps you in a state of fear. See, when you try to analyze your emotions, what you're doing is translating them into thoughts so that you can try and deal with them through logic. But emotions are not logical. They're a completely different kind of experience. Your anxiety isn't a rational problem. It's a subconscious feeling that you're in danger. And being triggered isn't about thoughts or logic. It's very simply about the fact that something touched on a nerve inside of you and is bringing up unresolved emotions that you never dealt with. It's all a trauma response. And sure, there's a story there. We can find a logical explanation to why something triggers you or where your initial trauma came from, but the act of getting triggered isn't a logical experience and it can't be solved through logic. Getting triggered is like getting tickled. It's a visceral, subconscious response that can't be cured with logic, even though it can be explained with logic. So, if you want to ever finally process these emotions and move past the triggers in your anxiety, you're going to need to learn to stop translating your emotions into thoughts. You need to learn to turn your attention directly to those other experiences without letting your mind get in the way. Make sense? Cool. If you want to learn more about how to do that, how to feel your emotions directly and how to process them, subscribe to this channel and follow along because I'll be talking about that plenty more in other videos. But for now, I want to keep running through the 6 habits that we want to stop. So let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is stop justifying or explaining your emotions. This one has a bit of overlap with the first when it comes to the idea of translating your emotions into thoughts. But with this second one, what I'm really talking about is when you happen to be feeling down for one reason or another, and someone asks you, well, why are you feeling that way? You need to stop answering that question with logic. You need to stop attaching stories to your emotions. Like, let's say you wake up one morning just low energy or on the wrong side of the bed or whatever, and you're not feeling great. Like you went to bed feeling all right, and you woke up and you're just not feeling so good. And then someone asks you, well, why don't you feel good today? Your mind's instinct is to search for a reason in your external world of why you don't feel good. It's looking for a justification. Oh, maybe my relationship isn't going the way I want, or oh, maybe there's something at my job, my work that has me worried. But the thing is, none of those are the real cause of your emotion. Like nothing has changed from the moment you went to bed feeling okay in the moment that you woke up. You just woke up on the wrong side of the bed and maybe you didn't sleep well and you're a little tired, but now you're attaching a story to it. Your mind wants there to be a story. It wants there to be logic, and that story is going to reinforce to you the idea that there's a real problem. And then, because you're telling yourself that story that there's a real problem, it's going to reinforce your bad mood, which will reinforce the story, and around and around and around and around we go. By telling yourself or others a story about why you're feeling the way you feel, you're fueling that cycle, which is going to keep you feeling that way. So from now on, your answer to that question of why are you feeling that way is, that's just how I'm feeling. There doesn't need to be a story behind it. Stop attaching stories to all of your emotions. I promise you, doing that is going to help you escape that cycle and start experiencing your emotions as their own independent experience so that it doesn't keep you ruminating about problems back and forth and back and forth. Now, I hear you thinking, well, Benjy, that's for times when your emotion isn't triggered by anything in particular and you just woke up feeling that way, but that's not always the case. So what about the times when there is a real problem that I'm facing and that's the real reason why I'm feeling that way? Look, the ultimate truth of the matter is that your emotional state is never as directly tied into your problems as you think it is. It is absolutely possible to go through whatever problems you're facing and to experience a different emotion around it. Your emotions are completely internal. Now, look, I'm not saying it's easy to go through challenges while maintaining top-tier emotions. And I'm not saying that there's no connection between your real-life challenges and your emotions. I'm just saying that the story and the emotions aren't as intrinsically connected as you think they are. And all of these stories that you tell yourself about why you're feeling that way are keeping you stuck in fear and anxiety. The fact that you are going through a challenge is real. The fact that you are experiencing an emotion is real. But the 100% connection between the two is not as real as you think it is. And if you keep on justifying how you're feeling with a story, you're going to keep yourself stuck in that story and in the anxiety that that story is causing. But if you learn to see your anxiety as its own independent experience, then you can deal with the anxiety as its own thing, regardless of whatever trigger you think is causing it. Okay? That's number 2. Stop explaining your emotions with stories and logic. Number 3 is stop believing your thoughts. So we've been talking so far about how your emotions get translated into thoughts, and a huge piece of the puzzle here is that you need to start recognizing that when you're triggered or feeling down, your thoughts are being manipulated by your emotions. I mean, actually, your thoughts are always being manipulated by your emotions, but it's particularly important to recognize this when you're triggered or feeling down. So, when you happen to be feeling good, you have a little more energy and a little more optimism, and you'll tend to think about things more positively with a little more grace and patience and confidence. You can handle challenges without freaking out too much. But when you happen to be feeling down, the opposite will happen. You'll have less energy, less patience, less confidence, and you'll tend to go to the worst case scenario in your mind that much easier. But let's say that you're in a bad mood and in a negative train of thought, and I slip you a happy drug, give you some ecstasy or some mushrooms or something. Then within a few minutes, you'll be thinking that life is beautiful and you can handle any challenge and that none of this matters too much and that everything's going to be all right. Well, even though nothing has changed in your external world, when your emotion changes, your thoughts change also. And if you can really just recognize that, then you can stop getting fooled by your thoughts so easily. You want to stop believing the thoughts that are in your head when you're triggered and upset. You need to be able to recognize that, okay, I'm triggered right now. And that means that I'm not thinking clearly. I'm thinking through the lens of pessimism and fear, and these thoughts that I'm having in this moment aren't as real as I think they are. If you can manage to do that, to recognize the connection between your emotions and your thoughts, and to not be fooled by the negative thoughts that you're having when you're in a bad mood, you'll avoid slipping further into negative thought cycles and into all of the emotions of dread and fear and shame that are fueling your stress and anxiety. So that's number 3. Stop believing the thoughts that are in your head when you're sad, triggered, or afraid. They are not accurate reflections of reality. They never are. I promise you. They're reflections of the current emotional state that you're in. So those first three all kind of share a common theme about, the connection between emotions and thoughts. So they're each a little different, but there is a common theme there. So let's move on to number 4. The fourth habit that you need to stop is that you need to stop running away from or stuffing away the discomfort of anxiety. So anxiety can present in the body in a bunch of different ways. Some of the most common are a turning feeling in the pit of your stomach, a tightness in your chest, a lump in your throat. These things are uncomfortable. They're unpleasant. They subconsciously make you think that you're in danger, and they instinctively feel like a problem that you need to get rid of, so your instinct is to run away from them. You want to distract yourself, or you want to cover it up with food or drugs or alcohol or sex or TV or whatever. Your instinct is to do whatever you can to avoid feeling it because you think that the discomfort is the problem. Usually inner discomfort is a sign of a problem when it's, physical pain. The thing is, though, when it comes to this emotional pain and anxiety, the discomfort isn't the problem. It's a symptom of the problem, if we want to put it that way, or it's a manifestation of the problem, maybe. But maybe even more directly, more precisely, the discomfort that you feel is kind of actually the solution. But you've been preventing the solution from ever working and doing its job because you've been running from it. That turning feeling in the pit of your stomach when you're nervous or you're uncomfortable, that's just what it feels like when your body is trying to process emotions and unresolved trauma energy. That's the feeling of dealing with emotions. Yes, it's uncomfortable and it's unpleasant, but it's not the threat and the problem that you think it is. It's kind of like the old saying with working out, no pain, no gain. That discomfort comes along with fully feeling and processing emotions, and because you've been resisting it, your body has never had the chance to finally deal with these emotions. You haven't actually been avoiding the problem, you've been avoiding the healing because it felt scary and uncomfortable. But if you can learn how to feel safe with that uncomfortable sensation and lean into it and let your body finally purge and process it, then you'll finally start working through it and your body will be able to start letting go of the emotional energy that's trying to move through you in that moment so that you won't get triggered the same way the next time and your body can start to learn to feel safe. Now, I am not saying that you want to go out of your way to bring up that discomfort. I don't like the whole exposure therapy approach where you're going to intentionally put yourself into scary situations that you can't handle so that you can deal with the pain. No. You don't want to dive into bad situations just so you can find pain to heal. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm just saying that you want to stop being afraid of the internal discomfort that's coming up naturally in situations you're already dealing with. You're already there. It's already happening. The idea is just to recognize that it can't harm you and it's not a sign of danger. Right now, the problem is that you're afraid of it. And at its root, anxiety is just fear. So being afraid of the uncomfortable feeling of anxiety is just a looping cycle. So what happens is something brings up discomfort. And if you just felt through that discomfort without fear or resistance, you'd heal and get stronger. But you're afraid of it. So you push it away and you resort to unhealthy defense mechanisms, meaning that the pain never gets dealt with and you keep piling on more pain on top of it. But like I said, if you could learn to feel safe in that discomfort and to just understand that this is what healing feels like, then you could learn to stop running from it and you could start turning your moments of emotional distress into the moments of healing that they're meant to be, instead of turning them into moments of piling new unresolved pain onto the pile. That's number 4. Stop running from the discomfort and learn to process it instead. I know it sounds scary. I know it might even sound counterintuitive, but that's what healing looks like. And again, if you want to learn more about how to do that, subscribe to the channel because I'll be talking about that stuff a lot in other videos. But for now, let's move on to habit number 5. Habit number 5 is chest breathing. This is a big one because most people are taught to do deep breathing exercises when they're stressed or anxious, but they're not taught this crucial piece of the puzzle. Chest breathing is one of the ways that you subconsciously and unintentionally tell your body that you're in danger, thereby fueling your anxiety and your stress and your fear when you're actually trying to calm your body down. So let's look at it. If I were to ask you to take a deep breath right now, what would you do? Most people would do this. But did you notice what happened there? I pushed my chest out, my neck muscles tightened, my stomach didn't really expand, it kind of moved upwards, and the in-breath was a forceful motion. All of these things are building tension in your body, and they're sending a subconscious message to your body that this is a stressful moment. Think about this physiologically. A lot of people don't know this actually, but think about what happens in your body when you actually breathe in. When we take a deep breath in, we think up. We go, that's kind of intuitively, for whatever reason, what we think. But what part of your body actually moves up when you breathe in? None. I mean, sure, in a full deep breath, your lungs will expand and some parts of you will literally move up. But what I mean is that internally, an in-breath is actually caused by a downwards motion. You have this diaphragm in between your chest and your belly, and when you breathe in, this diaphragm moves down, naturally expanding your chest and sucking air in. And that's what a relaxed breath looks like. Down. Your stomach moves out to make room for your diaphragm, and all of that makes room for your lungs to expand while keeping all of your muscles relaxed. So when you breathe up, while your body is trying to move down, you're creating inner tension and conflict. You're fighting against your own physiology and you're confusing your nervous system. So if you keep on forcefully taking breaths up into your chest while you're trying to relax, you'll keep sending a subtle, subconscious message to your body that you're in danger while you're simultaneously trying to tell it to relax, so you'll never fully relax. Got it? So that's habit number 5. Stop forcing tense chest breathing. Learn to breathe downward from your diaphragm instead. And lastly, habit number 6 that you need to stop is that you need to stop judging yourself and getting down on yourself for the coping mechanisms that you're using to get you through your tough times. This is an important lesson that I learned for myself in my darkest times. When I was truly depressed and suicidal, at that time, I was still smoking. And I hated that I was smoking, and I wanted to stop. I knew it was killing me in all kinds of ways. Not just in the obvious ways of direct potential long-term health issues like cancer, but just in the moment. It was causing problems in my life in lots of ways, and I really wanted to stop. So I would get angry with myself for smoking. But I eventually realized that that was only making things worse. I mean, smoking was a way for me to deal with uncomfortable emotions at the time, but judging myself for smoking was only fueling me with more uncomfortable emotions. I was fueling my own guilt and shame and fear by getting angry at myself for smoking. So again, it's this immediate contradiction where at the very same time that I was trying to deal with anxiety and uncomfortable emotions by smoking, I was creating more anxiety and uncomfortable emotions by hating myself for smoking. All at the same time. But by letting go of my judgment against myself, I was able to relax a little more into the whole situation. I was able to feel a little more safe in myself as I continued to work through things. And eventually, I was able to feel safe enough to quit also. But the more that I judged myself and the more perfection that I expected from myself, the worse this whole cycle became and the harder it was to really start to pull myself up again. So that's number 6. Stop judging yourself for the coping mechanisms that you're currently using while you're in pain. I mean, look, don't just resign yourself to those coping mechanisms, the unhealthy ones, of course. Stay committed to quitting them in the long term. But Just start being kind and patient with yourself about the things that you're doing to survive your pain until you're ready to really start making deeper efforts to stop doing those things. Does all that make sense? Okay. I promise, if you stop doing those 6 things, your body and your mind will already start recognizing that you're not in danger, and the symptoms of anxiety will already start soothing a bit. And then you can start really applying more active, positive skills and tools to accomplish deep healing and true transformation for the long term. And if you want to learn more about how to do that, how to accomplish that true deep healing and confront these things, watch this video over here. I'll break down the step-by-step process that you can use to finally start making real, lasting progress with your anxiety. I'll show you how to turn your moments of emotional distress into moments of healing without being afraid of that discomfort inside of you and without getting stuck in overthinking.